Perspective is everything in life. It's always good to reevaluate or to evaluate your circumstance and situation. It could be a whole lot worse as well as it could be a whole lot better. Well, that also holds true for commodities, even gold and silver, and also the dollar. And we're going to take a look at gold in a little different way, as well as the dollar in a little different way in this video. And I think what you're going to learn here in this video very well may just blow your mind and give you that much more confidence in gold. Let's talk about it as we explore. That's right, gold is doing very well. In fact, it is getting closer to reaching its all-time high yet again of $3,500 an ounce. As I record this video, it's only about $70 away from that target. Who knows where it will be by the time you watch this video? But nonetheless, and no matter what, having gold in your portfolio is a good thing, especially in physical form, such as you see here. My friends at Summit Metals have a good supply of gold from which you can choose. Next time you're in the market to make a purchase, check out Summit Metals. Elevate your wealth with Summit Metals. Now, gold is a metal that has stood the test of time. We all know that. That's a fairly basic principle. And that is one area of perspective that I think that most of us already have a good firm grip on. But there's more to it than that. It's how it compares to the dollar, not just today, because obviously it takes 3,500 of these or close to it now to get to 1 full ounce of gold, whereas a long time ago it took a whole lot less. In fact, the earliest I can really remember when I started stacking gold was around $252 an ounce, maybe a little bit above. That was the baseline price back in the day, and it kind of stayed in that area for a long enough time that really I wasn't that concerned about getting more, because I just figured didn't really have much of an understanding of the markets back then than I do now. Hindsight is always 20/20 for sure, but we're going to take a look not just in 2020 years ago. We're going to go back 55 years ago. That's right, to 1970. That's where a lot of the charts, the modern charts, start with gold, because that's kind of where the price kind of fluctuated away from its baseline of $35 an ounce, which was the fixed price of gold. And a member of the community posted a comment that he found on another channel, John C4RLO, about how gold was $34.75 in 1970. Well, I checked. That was not the low. It was actually $34.98. But in reality, the price of gold was still fixed, I think, at that time. And it was illegal for us to own gold at that time. In fact, the only gold we could have is if we had 5 of these in our possession left over from our parents at the time, who lived through Executive Order 6102, which prohibited more than 5 of these in your possession. This is a $20 gold piece. $20.67 an ounce was the going rate for gold at the time. And then they reevaluated it up to $35 an ounce. And I think there was one other time in between where they had bumped it in between that. But $35 was the going rate. That was the price, the fixed price of gold. And through 1970, it kind of broke away and kind of climbed up. Well, just recently, and we may touch it again, gold got to $3,500 an ounce. So from 35 to 3,500. It's pretty intriguing. It's crazy when you think about. And it's pretty wild when you take that decimal point and move it 2 places, how much more it can be. That's 100 times more than where it was back then. Now I checked, and according to the demographics of this channel, over half of you have been born since 1970. In other words, half of you may not remember what gold's price was back then, but you were alive then. So over half of my audience has been alive since and seen gold climb up 100 times since then. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it. Now, you've often heard me talk about the loss of the value of the dollar since the inception of the of the Federal Reserve Act of December the 23rd, 1913, the dollar has lost between 96 to 98% of its value. But I also often round that up too. But I don't often talk about that in terms of its price performance compared to gold at the time, compared to the price, its comparison to the price to gold now. And that is another angle I want to give to this, because that's something else that was pointed out. Because when you round up to where the price of gold is now to the value of the dollar now, it really puts everything into perspective. And it really should change your outlook on gold in general in terms of its price performance. When you look at the ratio of what the dollar to gold was and the price back then compared to where it is now. So think about this for a moment. $3,500 an ounce. Rounded up for one of these. Now back then, if you lived outside the United States, you could have a full ounce of gold. And the only way to get it in coin form is to get the Krugerrand, like you see right here. The Krugerrand was the way to get a full ounce of gold. Here in the United States, we did not have bullion coins like we have right now. We could not own gold legally outside of what was handed down to us only until December the 31st, 1974. And then it became legal. But the United States did not have a bullion coin until 1986 with the American Gold Eagle. And that's this coin right here. That was when we could start owning gold again and buying it from the United States. We could buy Krugerrands if we could find them, and we could buy other gold coins, various sizes, but the options were very limited back then. But if you bought back in 1975, January 1, well, you've done very well with your gold holdings since then. There's no question about it. But nonetheless, gold held in your possession back in 1970 compared to what it is now, 55 years is not that long ago. When you think about it in the grand scheme of time, and you've seen the dollar lose value compared to itself by a great measure over the course of since 1913. But what I'm about to share with you now will blow you away. So $35 for 1 ounce of gold back then compared to $3,500 for an ounce of gold right now. To put that in perspective, that means that the dollar's loss of value when compared to gold, essentially one of these in 1970 would be worth one of these today. That's right. A 1970 $100 bill is now worth just $1. That's it. That's a massive drop in value just since for 55 years, taking out what happened with the Federal Reserve back in 1913 compared to now with 97, 98. That's compared to itself, which is bad enough. It's bad enough indeed. Why? Because this is a debt instrument, and we are a nation riled in debt. So we continue to print these, and that has caused the value of it to go down in and of itself. But compared to gold, it has held up much better. To put it in further perspective to you, $1 in 1970 is now worth 1 cent today. And right here, I just happen to have a 1970 1 cent piece, and I believe this is a proof cent from 1970. And by the way, the intrinsic value of this cent, the value of the copper, is worth about 4 cents right now. 4, maybe even 5 cents. If you want to take it to stretch it out and compared to the futures market of where copper has been recently. That's right. That's crazy to think about. But just look at the denomination of this coin, and let's just look at what the denomination is and go by that. 1 cent. Your dollar is worth 1 shiny red cent. If you had that dollar and kept it through 1970 to today. It's crazy. When you think about that. That puts it into perspective. That is a perspective I think most of us can appreciate, that fiat currencies are by design and even by the natural market that we've seen are destined for failure. Gold maintains at a much steadier pace than silver, even though silver has really been catching up lately. It's more volatile of a metal. And this is one of the reasons why I decided starting in 2017 to focus more on gold, because I'm at a point in my life where I want to try to have something that's focused and concentrate on more value in a smaller size, a more stable value in a smaller size. And I love and appreciate silver as much as the greatest silver stacker out there. But nonetheless, I do love the fact that gold has been a stronger, stable store of value for a longer time. And this example really puts into perspective on how much the value of the dollar has lost compared to in and of itself, compared to gold now. When we enter gold in the mix, it really gives a whole new perspective. And it changes everything, in my view, about gold. Let me know what your thoughts are. I want to thank again John C4 for bringing this that little tidbit of knowledge to me. You know, perspective is everything, and in the gold market today and what's going on, this really changes the whole game. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.